You're listening to The Rule of Law, the educational podcast sponsored by Allrise, where we focus on the intersection of law, technology, and storytelling. And now, here's your host, Lauren Round.
Welcome to Rule of Law. In today's episode, we sit down with Drew Jacobs, the founder of Jacobs Counsel. He's one of a new breed of attorneys who skipped the traditional law firm path entirely and built something different straight out of law school. Drew took an unconventional path, building a firm to serve the creators, athletes, and founders who need a different kind of legal partner. We get into what it actually looks like to run an AI native law firm, why gaming law is one of the most underestimated emerging practice areas, and what Drew sees coming for the next generation of legal work. Drew, welcome to the podcast. Where are you recording from?
Thank you. We're recording from our new office, 31st and Madison, down in Midtown Manhattan.
Awesome. Well, congrats on your new office. We're happy to have you. We always start the show with a little icebreaker before we dive in. So your question is, if you had to switch careers tomorrow and money, time, skill was not a factor, what would you do?
I have two answers. The first would be a basketball coach, high school basketball coach. As you'll probably hear later in the interview, sports is a huge part of my life. I was an athlete growing up, and I'll go more into that later in the show, I'm sure. But high school basketball, I love mentoring, coaching, teaching. I did that for a while before, and then I like selling. I like doing this stuff, talking to people, kind of, getting into the nitty gritty on a lot of different things, and just, kind of selling. So any sales role for me, it's kind of what I do now, but in a different industry would be really appealing to me. So I got two answers, kind of cheating, but that's where my head's at now.
Okay, so that's a great backup if you ever get out of the practice of law, because I feel like there's plenty of sales jobs out there, so you'll be fine.
Everywhere you look, there's a sales job. You got to be able to sell. So
yeah, exactly.
Completely agree.
Totally. Well, before we get into some of our core topics today, if you wouldn't just mind starting us off by telling us a little bit about your background and kind of your journey to starting your law firm and where you are today.
Yeah. First off, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Really excited for this opportunity. I love talking, so this is great. I grew up in North Jersey, about an hour outside New York City. As I mentioned before, right, sports was a huge part of my ethos growing up. Was a big basketball player in high school. Had some success in high school playing basketball, and that kind of led me to be able to have the opportunity to walk on to the basketball team at Boston College, where I went up to went up to study for my undergraduate degree. It was an awesome experience. Really, just kind of was the culmination of a lot of hard work. Being able to play at Boston College, and had an awesome experience up there. Graduated from BC and kind of entered the workforce doing what my parents did, which was consumer products, sales, and marketing. I worked at a large healthcare firm, great company. I have nothing but great things to say, but it was just not my path, right? Like I just knew, from very early on, this was not how I wanted to spend my life, and the impact that I wanted to have on the world while I'm here. I called one of my really closest mentors, and I won't go into the whole story right now, but I called up my mentor, and he was building a sports agency at the time. So that launched me. That was about 10 years ago. That launched me to where I am today. He recommended I go back to law school, and kind of the rest is history, right? I was helping him service his athletes, primarily basketball players, with him, and at the same time going back to law school. And ever since I graduated law school, I said I'm too far down the entrepreneurial path. I'm going to keep going and start my own law firm. So that's kind of just a little bit of background, and there's obviously a lot more that went into it, but that's a simplified version of and now I'm practicing for 5 years with my own firm. So Jacobs Counsel Law. So really, really exciting time, and it's been quite the 10-year stretch.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to get into that for a second, because we interview a lot of attorneys who either go out on their own or they pursue a different career path altogether. But almost all of them, the attorneys who decide to go out on their own, spend time at a law firm or in-house to kind of build their confidence before they decide to take a move. And what we hear consistently that it takes kind of a long time to build up the courage to decide you're going to make a move, to go for it. But you went straight from law school into your own practice. So like how did that come about, and what made you decide to take that kind of unconventional path?
Maybe pure, not knowing what was going to, all that was going to go into it, and kind of naivete, if you want to call it that. But yeah, for me, really, I've always tried to surround myself with people that challenged me to be great, whether it's a coach or a mentor or just people in my life, right? Because people, there's so many different people out there that have so many different perspectives and opinions. And the way that where I grew up, it's a very traditional mindset where you rise the corporate ladder and have a job for 40 years and retire. And that, to me, I've always been drawn to not that, right? I've always been drawn to the alternative paths. And I was fortunate to surround myself with some people that have helped me develop that mindset over time. And when I was in law school, I had the opportunity at Seton Hall, where I graduated Seton Hall Law School. I had the opportunity as a third-year law student to help jumpstart and actually help develop their sports, entertainment, and gaming program for students. I had run a conference during my third year. It was during COVID, so it was virtual, but we got some really big time names to come back. It was actually a conference called The Future of Sports, which was really exciting. And Dean Buzang, who I have a great relationship with and was awesome over at Seton Hall, I emailed her and I said, Seton Hall is missing an opportunity to offer these types of experiences to students, right? These sports, entertainment, gaming, students love these different industries. They're underserved industries. And I, having a sports background and being involved in that world, I said Seton Hall needed to, start a program. And she said, why don't you come back and run it? So right after graduating, I had the opportunity to go back and help develop start Seton Hall's sports, entertainment, and gaming program. At the same time, to answer your question, it didn't really make a whole lot of sense. I had some opportunities to go work big law, and I was definitely considering that path. But I kind of was thinking to myself and, talking to some of my mentors and, who challenged me to, chart my own course and do it in a different way and really do kind of what I set out to, which was, be involved personally in these industries that, working at a law firm doesn't really allow you to have that type of flexibility to go pursue representation and, kind of do entrepreneurial things. And I was really challenged by one of my closest mentors to prove to him that I actually had the juice to build my own business. So I always love a good challenge. And the rest, again, now I'm here 5 years later, survived the possible challenges that come with just, having no clients and starting a law firm right out of law school, right? So really, I have a lot of thoughts on it, and I can tell if anyone's interested in starting their law firm, I can tell them exactly how to do it, because you can just save a couple of years doing, avoiding the mistakes that I did, kind of building my practice. So really, I'm fortunate to be in the position that I am, just having the opportunity to go right out of law school, be involved with Seton Hall's sports, entertainment, gaming program, and now, practicing in some really cool areas after I've, developed a pretty nice client list.
So you mentioned just now, how your background in law school, but even before that in basketball, kind of informed your current practice. And tell us a little bit more about that and how that kind of shows up day to day when you're interacting with your client base.
Yeah, it's really it's a fascinating thing, because it's probably one of the most important things that I think is ingrained in who I am, is just the experience that I had being a walk-on at Boston College, playing basketball out there. To be a walk-on, it almost requires a fanatical level of commitment to the team and just putting the team first. Like, you look at the New York Knicks just won the NBA championship. Really exciting. Like, being in New York City has been awesome. But look at that team. Like, you look at Jalen Brunson. He's 6'1", very not a particularly imposing basketball player by any means, but the guy is incredible. I mean, he's the way that he conducts himself and the way that he comports himself in interviews is, I've never seen anything like it. Because he talks all about it's ingrained in him that winning is the most important thing, playing to win is the most important thing. That's not the case for a lot of athletes. And so when you're a walk-on, and even dating back to my high school career, playing in North Jersey for a legendary coach at my public high school in Mendham, New Jersey, won 685 games, Jim Baglin, his motto was play to win. And like that kind of sounds pretty simple, like play to, okay, yeah, everyone's playing to win. But like when you really think about like what play to win means, and we would do this in the summer, and we would have these open gyms. Like they're meaningless games in the summer. Like they don't matter to anything, but they mattered extremely a lot in the moment because every single person there was willing to do whatever it took to win the game. That bleeds into how you perform on the court. I mean, I went 89 and 19 in my high school career. I was like the tallest guy on the team. I'm 6'1". Like, so like taking that approach and going into that play to win approach, going to be a walk on where you're literally just, you're doing this for the love of the game. All you care about is the team winning. How are you going to help the starters get better? How are you going to push them to get better? I mean, that's what I do now. I help interesting people do cool stuff. But if you add me to your organization, I'm bringing the play to win mentality and the walk on underdog mentality where you have to earn it every single day. And I feel like you kind of need that a little bit. Like I like being around athletes and being around people that participated in teams and have that background because at the end of the day, right? Like everyone has a goal, everyone has a dream, but you have to be willing to sacrifice to what it takes to get to that end state. And having a legal partner on your team that has that mentality, I think is super important. So that play to win, that walk on mentality that we saw in the New York Knicks run these past couple of weeks, we need that in the coming age, especially. I think it's really important for legal practice.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe one of the reasons why clients are connecting with you is because it goes back to it's who you surround yourself with, which is another kind of like similar to play to win, kind of a throwaway phrase, but it is actually true. That's why you hear it so commonly because it's true. And people probably don't expect to have kind of a cheerleader or someone who's really rooting for them from their attorney. Most people think, oh, I'm going to hire outside counsel and they're going to tell me I'm doing all these things wrong, or they're going to tell me I can't do this and can't do that, which some of that is necessary. But, if you're treating it like a coach, a partner, someone to help, someone who's just as motivated as they are, I'm sure that's a pleasant surprise to a lot of entrepreneur clients you work with.
Yep. And I can speak their language too, right? So it's not only that, but then also like my age, which I for a long time was really, self-conscious about, like, oh, am I too young to do this? It's actually become one of my biggest assets, which is I can speak your language. You're getting a winning player on the team, and I'm going to help you get done what you need to get done in a compliant way that leads to success. So I think all those factors play into it.
Yeah, I'd love to get into some of that because you're, fast forward 5 years into doing this full time and running your own practice. I mean, I feel like attorneys tend to kind of gloss over the hard parts because the ones that make it, it works out. And so we're kind of just talking about how great things are going now and the practice is going, which is all great. But I do want to get into kind of like, what did your first year look like? Like, were you really scraping by and hustling for clients? Did you have a network from your time getting the program up and running at Seton? Like, take us back to the first, 6 months, year of your practice.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's definitely a huge challenge trying to effectively, you're taking something that's inside of your head and you're trying to put it out into the world. And you're fighting a lot of different I'm a huge believer in the mental grind and the mental game. Just from having a basketball background, playing at a really high level, it all boils down to mindset and mentality at the end of the day. And there's definitely you talked about confidence early on, right? Like it's hard to practice law when you haven't gone and worked at a firm and don't have that experience working in a setting where you learn through osmosis, especially practicing law, right? Theoretically practicing law, you start and every single day you theoretically get better, right? Because you're constantly doing it. And so I had to kind of architect a different path by effectively freelancing instead of working for, I always say this, instead of working for one firm 60 to 80 hours a week or however long they require you to work. I was working for like 5 to 10 different firms doing to 10 hours here and there, learning a variety of different areas of law, because I knew that like this is kind of like a weird thing, but I kind of started using AI very early on, and I saw the impact that the technology was going to have on, especially on the knowledge-based business like the law, right? Where, and I can talk about AI for a long time, and I know we'll probably touch on it a little more formally later in the interview, but I kind of saw where it was going, where there was actually going to be a need for someone with a little bit more of a generalist skill set, with specialty niche areas of interest, which I've developed and been able to hone in on over the years. But the first 6 months, you're just grinding I'm grinding for hourly work from different attorneys. I had a couple clients that I was working on doing a lot of estate planning, just trying to figure out, chart my course, and figure out like where my orientation was going to be. And it was a really great lesson, because it also and back to the mindset point, like it teaches you, like, you build confidence over time. It's hard to put yourself out there and put yourself in front of a screen when you don't even feel really, like super, like you're very unsure of yourself. I had never started a real business, nor had I been practicing law for a significant amount of time. So you have that like imposter syndrome where, why would you hire me over a 40-year attorney? And you can get over that, quickly, because you realize that if you're diligent and you do the work and you do the preparation and you learn the areas of law and you feel comfortable and confident with the client and the level of representation you're giving, you're doing a great job, right? And so I was able to get over that quickly, but it was definitely a grind, and it taught me a lot, like coming from an area where, like, the area that I grew up in, I was really fortunate to have just an awesome upbringing. But you don't really learn those like survival skills, right? Where you don't really learn how to like literally survive off like, you figure out different ways of making it happen, and getting to where you want to go when it's not just handed to you. Like everything was kind of always like, it was very easy for me. And this first 6 months to a year, and even like the last 5 years, it's been very hard for me. But I would not trade that for the world, because it's taught me I can survive anything, right? I can survive, if you took away all my clients today, I could figure out a way to get more tomorrow, right? Like having that sense of security and like confidence in yourself is just crucial, especially in the entrepreneurship game. And I'm sure that kind of applies outside of the law to a variety of different industries, right? And so the first 6 months to a year was super difficult, I'm not gonna lie, but it was awesome. Like I look back, I'm like, that was really cool that I did that. So that's just a little bit of insight into the first bit.
I think that's something I've learned, just over time working with a lot of law firm owners, partners, people on this podcast who've gone on to start their own businesses in entrepreneurship. Really, there's no true shortcut. You kind of just have to do it and learn it. And you can read all you want, you can prep all you want, but you kind of just have to go out there and do it. And that's the only way to get good at it, is kind of the takeaway I've had from interviewing people on this show over the course of the last couple of years.
So true. I mean, it's like you look at people, it's like that's the tough part. I'm sure people have said this to you before, but you look around and you're like, wow, everyone else is killing it. Like that guy's at the front row of the Knicks game, and this person is posting on social media that they just made X amount per month, and you compare yourself. But at the end of the day, right? Either one, someone's lying, or two, they've been working at this for like longer than you might have been alive, right? So it's kind of like you can't. That's why I talk about mindset. It's all personal journey. Like you're really competing against yourself, because everyone's got different talents and everyone's got a different vision, and it's all about whether or not you're just battling yourself. It's not, there's no comparison to someone else that's doing whatever they're doing. So really good point. And that's a tough challenge, especially early on, right? Just comparing yourself to others and having that like imposter feeling and all that.
And I think too, the other thing I've picked up on is that's really one of the reasons why so many attorneys who go the firm route struggle to leave and sit on their decision for years and years, because you're going from being a senior associate or a junior partner, someone who's very trusted, very experienced, very skilled, to going kind of what they see as backwards and being a novice at something. Either that's a career change or starting their own firm. And that can be really scary, because, a lot of people don't want to go backwards. You don't want to be a novice at something when you're so skilled at something else. But yeah, I've heard I've really never talked to an entrepreneur who, especially in the legal arena, who regretted going out on their own and starting their own thing or decided to pursue a different path. But it's just getting the courage to make the jump, I think.
I mean, trust me, if I wish someone would give me a direct deposit every 2 weeks and a nice 401k, and like you trade like that security, right? And I think first off, attorneys in my experience tend to be pretty risk averse. We're a risk averse bunch, so there's a lot of there's a lot of factors that go into being running your own firm, right? Like the business side is just as important as the actual law side, right? I mean, the law side is really important too, but the business, there's a lot of challenges on the business side that you have to learn. So you're almost learning two things at once. Also in kind of like an environment again where there's not a lot of certainty as to where the clients are coming from, and there's a lot of just like personal risk involved. So your point is very well made, and it probably is the reason why there's not a ton of attorneys that decide to go do that after a while, but I have a lot of respect for the ones that do, right? That go work for a firm and they say, I'm going to go off on my own and make it happen. So that's how I describe my firm. I help interesting people do cool stuff. That's literally what I do. So I think it's cool when other attorneys go out and they try to do something cool. In my view, that's cool.
Deploying new software technology can disrupt familiar workflows and processes, and it often comes with a steep learning curve for the employees in your law firm. We get it, but it doesn't have to be that way. Allrise is a comprehensive law practice management system deeply integrated with the Microsoft tools and technology you're already familiar with, so no steep learning curve is required. And because Allrise is a modular software platform, you can deploy only the specific capabilities you need when you need them. Your choice. If you want to streamline internal operations, boost staff productivity, and deliver superior client service, then take a close look at the AI-powered Allrise platform. It's time to experience software innovation that enables practice excellence. Learn more at allrise.ai.
And that's a perfect segue. I wanted to ask you some questions about your specific practice areas. You mentioned your primary practice areas right now are sports, entertainment, gaming, law. I mean, tell us what that is. I think like even attorneys who are in different practice areas, you think sports or entertainment attorney, and you're thinking like an attorney that helps athletes get out of trouble, or like maybe IP, or gaming. Like, what is a gaming attorney? So tell us like what you do for your clients aside from the sort of line help. What did you say? Help cool people do interesting things?
Interesting people do cool things. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah, it's really, I've spent a lot of time thinking about the type of business that in the law that I wanted to develop. And part of who I am is I have a background in sports. I, was a pretty successful basketball player in my day, and have a really great relationship with agents, people in the industry across football, basketball, baseball, you name it, right? And so, my ethos is really, again, not to belabor the point, but helping interesting people do cool stuff. And it just so happens that my background really aligns very nicely with, I call it counsel for the AI age. Like the last 3 months has exploded with just the availability of AI, with people building things, people doing cool things. Because now the barriers previously were you had to hire a development team, get coders to build apps and different ideas, and and so on and so forth. And now the barrier to actually trying to execute a cool idea is a lot lower. And so I'm well positioned as a young attorney that's been doing it with the background that I have in sports at Boston College, entertainment, working with agencies and different entertainers, and gaming at Seton Hall, which has become a huge practice area for me. And the gaming industry is really exploding. I've been able to align myself with other attorneys that have deep subject matter expertise, and we work with clients in those industries. And I guess the final sports, entertainment, gaming, and tech. I have a lot of tech clients as well, whether it's software, hardware, whatever. it's counsel for the AI age, people doing cool stuff. And so in sports, right, it could be working on an NIL deal for athletes. I've reviewed multiple NIL deals, college sports. I gave a talk a couple of weeks ago at the New York Jets practice facility about estate planning for these college athletes that are now making several hundred thousands, if not millions of dollars directly from the school, right? So like it's almost become professional sports at the college level. Do a lot of work in that realm. Entertainment spans content creators, TikTokers, talent agency contracts. I mean, I do a variety, entertainers looking to monetize their platform monetize their brand off platform. And then the gaming piece is really interesting because now, right, there's all these companies that are using AI to develop different ideas, and they're developing games that they've had in their mind. And they call me up and they say, hey, listen, we've been instructed that we need to make sure our game, the way that we've structured it, doesn't constitute gambling. Obviously, gambling is a very tightly regulated market because the states have an interest in generating tax revenue from gambling companies, and so they police gambling very closely. And so it's counseling those startups on how to structure their operations so that they're not running afoul of state level gambling laws. It's an analysis that spans all across 50 states. There's no neat federal definition of gambling. So it's more, it's unfortunately fortunately for me, unfortunately for the company, having an attorney in the loop that can help navigate those tides is really important, especially now. And that's become a huge practice area. And then I guess finally tech is a huge, I've been doing this, companies that don't want to pay big law firm rates, and they like having me, someone that can plug into their team, communicate with them how they want to be communicated with via Slack, being, added into their operations as in, call it outside inside counsel, meaning, I'm not technically a member of the organization on a W-2 basis, but we give principled, quick, detailed, fast turnarounds at an affordable rate. That's what tech companies want to do in today's day and age. So really, I've kind of molded this practice in the areas that I work on from my personal interests and background and network. And then every time I meet with a new client, it's, what does success look like for you? And we will do it, because at the end of the day, I'm successful if my client is successful. There's no other way to think of it. I'm helping interesting people do cool stuff, but like if I charge all this money to someone and they don't get what they need to get done, they're not going to have a positive experience working with my firm, and they're not going to come back and they're going to tell everyone, don't go use Jacobs Counsel for your legal needs. And that's very, very bad when you're running a service business. So hopefully that was a little bit of background in the industries that I serve, and they're all related in a very, at the end of the day, it's mostly transactional legal work, but there's specific nuances to each industry that are really important to understand, and that, that we've been able to build a practice around.
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating niche because two of the clients you mentioned, college athletes and then creators, I feel like even 5 years ago, those cohorts really weren't even thinking about getting an attorney. Before the NIL rules were reformed, high school and college athletes didn't really need an attorney. And now, like you said, they can be millionaires like walking onto the team, or creators. I mean, creators were never really taken that seriously. And now I just saw a press release last week that a major insurance company has added coverage for influencers. And so it's like these, new creative niches are popping up, and it turns out that they need lawyers.
And they need a firm that's on the cutting edge of it. Like you can't really I've just, based on the way that I operate and my interests, I've been on the cutting edge of using all of the AI tools to assist what I can do. I am very close to the changing winds of, call it in entertainment, as you said, right? Traditional TV is going down the tubes, and people are now, they're connecting with brands and opportunities through these creators that have built audiences. And so like that, and in college sports, and again, I could talk for hours on college sports, but you're talking about an industry that there was always money being exchanged, but now it's being exchanged like directly by the school in very, very big amounts for some of the more, prominent athletes. And so like we're there, like we, in the tech world and the gaming world, same thing. Like we're there. We're like, this is what we do. So we're actually, super well positioned to assist those clients in those areas just because of the way that I developed the firm, like just the way that who I am, like it just happened in that way, and we're really excited about it.
And on that note, I think you're sort of on the opposite end of the spectrum where a lot of law firms find themselves today, which is they're struggling with how to actually position themselves and how they talk about technology, especially AI with clients, because they're not exactly sure how their clients are going to receive it, or they're not exactly sure what to do with their billing time. But you're on the complete opposite side. And in fact, you've branded or referred to your firm as an AI native law firm. So can you talk a little bit more about what exactly that means and how you've kind of decided to lean into that fully?
Yeah, I've been leaning into AI native for like several years now, and the reason, the reason that is because there's two things that I really think of when it comes to AI practicing law. Well, first is client confidentiality is like the utmost importance, and that like you have to be very, very careful with how you're using these AI as the large language AI models to handle client information. So that's like the first and foremost. But secondly, right, in my view, clients want you to use AI. The clients are using AI. The clients are sending me AI generated emails and briefs and so on and so forth, which is great. I mean, I think it's awesome. Like the more the better. It's assisting people to do so many different things. I think I think it's great from the client perspective because the clients use it themselves, and the law firm, we're running a service business. A law firm is a service business, and I don't know if this is the right time to talk about it, but this is how I view a law firm, right? Like it's a service business, but you're offering a product. The product is legal work. So we do legal work. That is the product that we do. With AI, the difference, the gap between someone that can do something that's been practicing for 100 years versus not that long is kind of shrinking because these AI products, it's super intelligence. They're very smart. They can they can do research very quickly. So the product is kind of like the gap between the product is decreasing. So really we're competing now in a large part on service. What is the experience that you have working with me? Do you like me? Do you like the service that I'm giving you? Do you walk out like, are you constantly hounding me because I'm overbilling you, because I'm not hitting deadlines that I'm telling you to hit, like telling you that I'm going to hit? So like, that's like the product is the most important thing. You have to do a great job with legal product, but the service part is becoming, when I talk about AI native, there's a lot of tweaks that we've been able to build in with the way that we service clients using AI on the communication side, my view is the hourly billing model for solo small law firms. There's going to be a lot of pressure on the hourly billing model. We try not to bill hourly unless it's a practice area where it's kind of unavoidable, where it's like literally impossible to know how long it's going to take to do something. And in that case, hourly billing might make sense. But these firms have built, the business of a law firm that bills hourly is get more attorneys and bill more time. You're selling attorney time. And so like clients don't like that. Like I haven't really talked to many clients that really enjoy getting a bill at the end of every month when they don't really have line of sight into what's going on. They prefer flat fees or subscriptions or capped, like different hybrid arrangements that I think fit more neatly into an AI native environment that we live in now. So I've tried to just like from the outset over index on flat fees, subscriptions. And again, like not all my clients I have plenty of hourly clients too, but I think for the most part, right, like I'm trying to deliver a service. I want the client to be happy. I'm going to tell the client exactly what, flat fee, this is what you're going to get. This is exactly, so there's no disputes. You feel comfortable. Okay, I'm going to pay you X amount. This is what I'm getting. And now it's on me to deliver the product in the right way. So like AI native means a lot of different things. It means we use AI. It means we build AI into our workflows, and it means we're on the forefront of where the industry is going based on how AI is going to change it, which I'm willing to make that bet super early. I don't want to like ramble on here, but like, people, I've gone through the cycle of grief on AI, whether it's going to completely replace me, whether it's going to replace lawyers. It's super powerful. It's really, really powerful, especially the new Claude model they just took offline, Fable 5. Like it's craziness what the power of what it can do. With that being said, like I don't think it's going to completely replace attorneys, and I did think it might replace us at one point. But the more I use it, the more I realize that there's some real limitations and drawbacks to like having a completely autonomous AI system that can handle something from end to end. Clients don't really want to talk to robots all day, and it's super hard to actually like engineer and architect a completely autonomous end-to-end AI system. And it's actually, honestly, in my view, it's created more legal work. Like clients can do more now, so there's more work. So I actually think like my view has shifted from like I better go like start researching a new industry to get into, to I need to hire more human attorneys to help me handle the matters that are coming in through AI. So that's my dissertation on AI for the day, but hopefully that was helpful.
No, it's refreshing to get a dissertation from someone who's actually using AI and has built it into your practice kind of from the ground up, as opposed to an academic or someone who actually doesn't use it day to day. Not that those people's opinions aren't valuable, because they are, and there needs to be a lot of voices in the space, but it's refreshing to get that take. And I think it's such a good point on the service piece, because anyone who's an attorney knows that we all wish we had more time. Like if you ask any attorney if they're touching base with their clients enough, they're going to say no. If you ask the clients if their attorney is touching base with them enough, they're going to say no, because attorneys are so bogged down with not being an attorney and not having the kind of human element and the personal touch. And so I think that's such a good point, that as the service level and the knowledge kind of evens out because of AI, it's going to be, does the client like you? Does the client trust you? And at the end of the day, like you said, if I'm starting a business, or if I'm a creator and I have all this money and I don't know what to do, I want to do an estate plan, something, I want to talk to someone who can make me feel better and who I can trust is going to steer me in the right direction and is speaking from experience. And I still think clients are going to look for that. I don't think that's going away.
I couldn't agree more with what you're saying, and the way I think of it too is that you have to understand where someone's heart's at, and like clients can kind of tell whether you're on. I view everything through a sports analogy. I'm on your team. Like again, if you do well, I do well. Like it's a service business, and I'm trying to build the infrastructure so that I can help service more clients that are doing cool things, right? And so like it would be very like it's very bad. And I think sometimes like I've met, I don't know, you get the spectrum of attorneys that you meet, and it's a super stressful job. It's a very stressful job because you're getting, like for me, my days, like you have to deal with admin tasks, business tasks, and then like you have to figure out a time to service the client. You actually do the work. So there are long days, there's fire drills. It's very stressful. And like I really like it really is a stressful job. But at the end of the day, you have to, the client, the customer, if you're running a law firm, the customer has to come first. Like it's a business just like anything else. You have to do a great job servicing the customer. And I feel like sometimes attorneys in particular get very wrapped up in like the aura of being an attorney, and they forget that like you are servicing a client. Some clients are just bad, right? Some clients, they won't listen to you, and so you have to kind of figure out a way to deal with that. But if you have that, if your heart's in the right place, where you're just trying to help out, you're going to do a great job, and you promise that the client feels like you're on their team, it's going to be a very fruitful relationship in my experience.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to ask you, you mentioned kind of the billing model that you use, and it kind of depends client to client, but we have heard a lot on the show and in other contexts about the transition to flat rate or subscription or caps or whatever. You work, it sounds like, with a lot of entrepreneurs and startup companies, which means that these clients are kind of maybe scrappy, maybe sometimes resource constrained, and legal is just not something that they want to spend a lot of money on, probably. So how do you kind of structure your engagement so that it makes sense for the both of you?
Yeah, that's like probably one of the hardest things to do, right? Is like you want to help every single person. Um, this might sound a little strange, but like you can't. What I've learned is like, especially in coaching too, you can't really help someone that doesn't want to help themselves. Generally, if someone's reaching out to me, they realize that there's a need for legal help. What I've like, the more you do it, and the more you're around these startups, is like you can kind of tell the startups that have a chance of really being super successful because they're willing to invest in paperwork that might seem trivial at the time, but like at the end of the day, I really believe this strongly. You have to go into something the correct way. If you don't set something up correctly from the beginning, it's very difficult down the line to like kind of go back and kind of hash it out after the fact. And so, when you talk about like structuring engagements with startups, if you quote a particular rate that the startup doesn't want to pay, that might even tell you that it's just not a good fit for what you're offering, right? Like I almost view it as like it's almost a great thing if like maybe you're just not on the same page about the compensation, because I have to protect my time. Attorneys are very time stretched, and like I can't be giving away free work because then I'm not going to be able to service other clients because I can't stay in business. And so like you have to I think it's two things. You have to meet someone where if they genuinely need help and they are willing to do it, but they just can't do it. Maybe there's a deferred fee system or there's some sort of like creative arrangement that you can do down the line. But you also like don't want to give away free stuff because you're just trying to be a nice person. So it's kind of like, that's been a real challenge for me. I still am challenged by it, honestly, because I do just want to help people out.
And I do think that's one of the hardest things to learn is how to say no, whether that's a new client who wants to come on, but they don't really want to pay the engagement fee that you proposed, or an existing client who, wants something that's out of scope, or just a bad client. I mean, we've talked to a lot of attorneys about being able to say no to your clients and not operating from a place of fear. So yeah, that's something that a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah, it hits both ways because when you have a client focused ethos, you want to do everything to make the client happy, but there comes a point where you have to just, you can't just be a people pleaser. You can't just, bend over backwards and accept whatever the client thinks. You have to have principles and stand on your, the way that you do things, right? So it's a weird balance, but it's like I feel like that's an art, is figuring out where that balance is.
Well, thank you so much, Drew, for all your insights. This has been a really pleasant and helpful conversation for our listeners. In closing, what is the best way that we can all follow you and learn more about your work?
Yeah, that's great. I'm on pretty much any social media site known to man. You can follow me on, I don't even know what my Instagram is, honestly. I'm actually looking it up right now. My Instagram is drew.jacobs32. My business page, Jacobs Counsel Law, JACOBS SCOUNSELLAW. I'm on LinkedIn too. I mean, you can find me. Drew Jacobs. Jacobs Counsel Law is my law firm. JacobsCounselLaw.com is my website. So I think I've given you a very broad surface area to go digging. Look for my smiling face across all socials, and I'd be happy to connect.
Okay, awesome. We know where to find you. Well, thanks again, Drew. Take care.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you having me on. Have a good day.
Thanks for listening, and join us again for another Rule of Law podcast from All Rise.